He was with the supergroup Bad English, The Babies, and of course, Journey. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year, has a new book, and still rocks crowds of all ages 38 years after he joined the band he is still with today, is one of the greatest keyboardists ever, and has helped to sell millions of records and has given us one of the most iconic bands of our time. Total honor to have Jonathan Cain of Journey here. Thank you so much for hanging out with Jonathan.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Kiki. Thanks.
I appreciate that. Now, does it seem possible to actually take a look back and say, I've done a lot? Do you do that?
Yeah, you can. I guess writing the book, the memoir, Don't Stop Believin', really made me, retrace everything, and just how persistent I was and how tenacious and perseverant, I look at, all of the rejection that I had to look at and, and overcoming that frustration when, you're rejected and then learning to continue to love the music, get music. Sometimes you get bitter about the rejection and you gotta reset, and let God take over. And, I actually, when I started my career, I was really close to breaking something open, and then I had a big setback, and I sold stereos for a year.
Did you really?
To get my mind off the business, and I decided I would just write songs at night and get a day job, and it paid off because the song I wrote during that period got me the job in the Babies.
Really?
So sometimes when you want it so bad, it's better to take a step back, and just go, whew, I know recently Steve Perry's been saying the same thing, why did he leave? And he said, I was just burnt out,
Right.
Burnt, and music wasn't, part of his life anymore, it had left him. The muse, once the muse leaves, that's it,
I don't even know how that could happen, really. I mean, especially with...
Well, it does. I mean, it does, especially with the wear and tear of the road will do it to you, it'll burn you out.
Yeah. Well, now let's go back.
So you have to be careful,
Oh, sure. And it seems like you have. But let's go back to your childhood. You started off playing the accordion, correct?
Yeah.
Now, how did that switch over happen to being a keyboardist?
Well, I was a little guy, I was only 8 when I started, and it was what my father could afford. It was what my little fingers could fit on, I had tiny little hands. I was a little kid, all the way up to high school. So those keys were good for me. I could get my fingers on them and, and do some stuff with them.
Right.
Where like a piano would be a lot of work for a little. So when I got to be about 12, I got piano lessons, and I realized accordion was only going to take me so far. And I had a wonderful teacher, and she led me to the Conservatory of Chicago, where I studied 3.5 years composition and theory, and I became a little classical guy for a while, but still playing gigs and dabbling in rock and roll and this and that, and then after the Vietnam War was over, there was no I wasn't going to be a music teacher or nothing. I wasn't going to be a virtuoso, that's for sure. And so I wanted to be a songwriter, and so I took my band on the road and started writing music and recording it, and, one thing led to another. But I had my first record deal in Nashville when I was 19. So that's pretty driven. I took the songs that that I was writing and recorded them and got a deal. Nothing really happened with the deal, but it wasn't until I ended up with John Waite where I realized the co-writing thing is powerful. So, and then he was the voice that I always wanted to be. So,
isn't that
it was
crazy?
Perfect,
That's just so crazy to me because I read about that and I'm like, wow, you want to be like John Waite. You want to have his type of voice, which is crazy.
His voice is perfect. Yeah, for my songs, man. When we wrote together, it was beautiful. We wrote some killer stuff, and even on Bad English, it was.
Oh yeah.
Very proud of that record. That's a beautiful rock and roll record right there. But so it was all good, but you just have to, when you write a book, your memory will serve you well or it won't. In mine, I remembered every step of the way, and, again, it's a love story to my dad, who believed in me and, never faltered and just said, hey, we got a credo. It's called "Don't Stop Believing."
Right. Oh,
that was it.
Oh, yeah. And we know where that went. But now, was your mom supportive of you as well as your dad?
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, she was.
Did she try to talk you out of it ever?
No, she didn't. No, she never. She wouldn't dare. My father, she loved my father, so she went along with my dad's dream. Kind of.
Nice.
And she liked playing the mom when we were playing clubs. She'd get the front row seats and get all the attention. She liked getting the attention.
I love that. So did you
from the performer's mother?
Did you sing to her on stage? Oh, this is for you, Mom.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. She used to love Tom Jones, so I learned all these Tom Jones songs for her.
Please don't tell me you threw your underwear into the crowd.
No, I didn't know. They threw them at me, but.
Well, that's good.
I have underwear thrown at me before, but no, I don't do that. So, but it was fun. Those club days were fun, and it was just learning experiences.
Now,
one thing about the accordion I got to say though is that you learn to play music that you necessarily wouldn't get to play on the piano, and it's a lot of folk songs.
Right.
The polkas, the Mexican hat dance, the Havanaghilas, the Irish washerwoman jig and all this Celtic stuff, and really pretty diverse. The tarantella, Italian folk dance song,
So
and you played a song and you light up a room, and it's like having that music, immersed in it, and then going to classical was kind of refreshing, just to start out with something fun like that and being able to get everybody to dance and sing and carry on. So the accordion served its purpose, definitely.
And you got the bug when you got everybody to dance and to respond to.
That was it. I wanted to be. I told my dad. I said, I know I told you I was going to be a priest. I know that, but my school had burned down right next to my church, and I was a little leery of the church at that point.
Right.
What are we doing here? We lost. The church couldn't find any answers of who did it, and we finally, the fire department of Chicago, figured out who did it. It was an arson, and it was awful. 93 children died that day.
That is awful.
My father said, "Music, John."
Yeah.
And I ran as fast as I could to it. I ran away from, the shock and sorrow of that horrible day.
Of course you did.
December 1st, 1958. Yeah.
But now then in 1976, though, you did form the Jonathan Cain Band with your brother. And I have to say, you guys covered the Moody Blues song Go Now from Windy City Breakdown. Jonathan, you need to re-release that song. I love it.
That was okay. Well, the internet actually got a little airplay. It got, and it was one of my favorites that they did, and it was weird because I can't remember who wrote it. I don't think they might have covered it too. Someone else wrote it, but I adored the tune. I just like that sort of piano, and it's sort of open arms. They're similar, in a way, because they're both in the 3/4 time.
But you can kind of tell you really loved the song because of how it comes across to somebody like me.
Yeah, that was fun, man. The album was a lot of fun to make, and we were out in Woodstock,
Were you really?
With the hippies, yeah. We stayed out at where the band used to. They filmed a Big Pink or something. The band, remember the band? They were up there, and Albert Grossman owned the studio at the time, and he, was he managed Janis Joplin and Bob Dylan, and he's the one that signed me to Bearsville. So, it was a big deal.
Of course it was a big deal, but then the next big deal, you guys go on American Bandstand. Now, who didn't love Dick Clark? Were you just out of your mind when you were in front of him? Or
yeah, what's funny about Dick Clark, though, is, when we went for, the rehearsal, I saw a side of him I had never seen before, and that was pretty strict, I don't know if you ever, so he would actually yell at kids that weren't dancing.
Come on.
And kick them out.
Oh, wow.
And he would he'd be on the microphone. He'd be watching everybody dance, and like, you call that dancing? You over there? Yeah, you. It's really embarrassing. I was like, oh my God, Dick Clark's a ball buster.
No way. Yeah, really? Who? Because he seemed like the sweetest guy.
Oh no, he was all business, man.
Well, that's why he was successful, right?
And and I remember him having a little bit of a pot belly, and then when he went on, he didn't have a pot belly when I was with him. I'm like, so he's wearing a girl. Yeah, that's all I can say. He's wearing a girl. It worked, but he was a cool daddy. But it was interesting to see how disciplined he was with his show. It's like a lot like Ellen. When you go to Ellen's show, Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
She can, be kind of harsh to the crowd if they don't, you're not dancing. You need to look happy, And it's got to be a jovial, and he would say, you're not smiling. You got to be smiling act like you're having fun, kids.
So is that why
you're not selling it? You're not selling it.
You were smiling the whole time you did that interview too. Did he tell you to smile?
No, I was blown away that I was even on television. I was like, this is really happening to me, And then he asked me about classical music, which was, he wanted me to put it down, And I said, it's like something you go to a museum and look at, and know what it is. But is it going to be, something that you're going to groove to? Probably not.
Right. Well,
but
yeah.
I'm not going to say it's poop. Classical music is the basics of all music. All music came from that music, and much of it is Christian, secular. It's got a lot of stuff to it,
Everything's so connected, and I'm sure you saw that along the way as you're writing music and performing and everything. And then after Dick Clark and your band breaks up, how did you get into the Babies? How did that all happen?
Yeah, it was a song. I was writing this Englishman, Robbie Patton. He called me out of the blue and said, this band of Babies looking for a keyboard player. You should go to the audition. And I was like, nah, let me see their picture. So he shows me, and they're wearing makeup, and they got earrings and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, no, you got to go. And so we were writing together for his album, and we had a cover of some French singer, Sylvia Vartan at the time. She was a big star in Paris, so she covered one of our songs, and good guy. And so I went to the audition, and they said, do you have any songs? And I had a song I'd written. Once again, my father had given me the title, Stick to Your Guns, and I played it for him, and they called me back a month later and gave me the gig. And I said, why did I get the gig out of 35 keyboard players? And they said, well, that song he sang is really great. And so there it was. To just know that that's your calling card. And my father always said that, that's going to be your calling card, and riding with John was, eye-opening, and going to Europe with those guys. And, it was a really great rock band, really, really great. And, but it just was managed terribly,
Was it really?
It was a train wreck. Yeah. The manager that they had before I got around had gotten them so far into debt they couldn't ever see out,
That is a shame because really
so you go from that to Journey, which is this well-oiled machine,
Oh yeah.
Where Herbie Herbert was like the authority on how to do it right and how to not do it.
That's right.
And he was in a Rolling Stone every other week. But so it was cool to jump from one side of the tracks to the other side of the tracks and actually make money. And but still, the Babies. It's a sad story because of the, you can make great music, but if you don't do great business behind the music,
of course,
you're going to end up failing. You have to think your business plan through.
Absolutely. But do you ever listen to the Babies' music? Like that song, Every Time I Think of You, that is such a powerful and amazing song. And I was
I think all their records are really well done, you know. And the ones that I made with them were fun, and we got to be more of a rock band, you know, once we got rid of Ron Nevison. And Keith Olsen was just a gem, you know. Keith was our producer, and what can you say? I mean, he's a legend. He was perfect for what we needed at the time, you know.
Which got you prepared for the next phase, because then Greg Raleigh, he left Journey, you take his place. How did that all happen? You know, were you still with the Babies when you joined Journey?
Yeah, I was playing with the Babies on the Departure tour. They had the Capture tour, they called it Capture. Mm-hmm. And it was a live album they were recording, and we were opening for the Babies. They liked our album Union Jack.
Great album.
And with Midnight Rendezvous on it and all that. Mm-hmm. So it was like they liked us, loved that album. They knew I was part of that big part of that. They saw my name on credits, you know. And so off we went, you know. So we started in San Diego. And, you know, about halfway through the tour, I started hearing these rumblings that, you know, that Greg is going to retire or something. You know, I'm like, well, that's weird. What are they going to do? You know,
right?
Why would he retire now? I mean, but he wanted to get off the train and, you know, have a family and all this stuff. So his wife wanted just him to stay home and get her pregnant. You know, so he did, and they chose me. You know, that's how it worked. It was like I was out there every night, throwing it down on guitar and piano and singing backgrounds and singing lead, and they're like, he does it all.
That is great.
We might as well get him, you know.
Oh man! And it's 1980 now. You're in it. You're in Journey. It's you, right. Neil, Ross, Steve, and Steve Perry. You co-wrote all of the songs in the Escape album, but Don't Stop Believin', that anthem. Now we know it came from your dad, but tell us how you wrote that song. Yeah,
you know, I had kept that in my notebook for probably 5 years. I had a lyric book plenty of lyric books spiral notebooks that I used to carry around, and my father had given me that nugget one night when I was thinking of quitting and coming home, and he said, no, stay the course, don't come home, don't go back to Chicago, you need to stay in Hollywood, don't stop believing, John. You know, so I wrote, that was cool, and I wrote it down and doodled all over it, and didn't know what it meant, but you know, years go by, and I've got the same lyric book up in San Fran, and Perry looks at me and says, we need another song. We need one more tune. You got anything, you know, laying around? I said, well, let me go look. And there it was. That night I looked at that title, and I went, oh, that's Perry would sing that, man. And so I said, I just need a soaring chorus. So, you know, something like, don't stop believing. Oh, yeah. I don't like that. Hold on to that feeling, you know. And I said, he'll like that, you know, so I brought it in. All I had was that bit, you know, chorus. And then he said, well, you know, those chords are really great. Let's just use them in the verse, too. And you know, we'll play that rolling piano thing that you do, you know, that Jonathan Cain eighth note thing, dan or dan or dan. So I started going nan or nan, and then Neil, you know, comes up with the bass line. He goes, boom, 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 you know, which Ross glommed onto immediately. He was playing the bass line, and then Neil did that train track thing, and tick, you know, all of that. I'm like, so I had a tape recorder running the whole time. I would record all of our rehearsals, every note we ever played, and listen through at night. You know, I would listen to everything that was done that day, and I heard we didn't play that chorus until the end. Steve had this idea, like, well, we're not going to give them the chorus until the very end, and then they're going to want to play it over and over again. Like, okay, that's a good idea, you know. I know. And he had his reasons, you know, like the chorus now, no, not now. You know? And so it really wasn't a group improv, you know, if you will. It was like a Marty Scorsese, you know, set right there, where it was like everybody contributing. Smith had his little drum beat, and then Ross put a thing on his bass, and we had this great little instrumental version with Perry kind of yodeling some ya na 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 ya ya woody woody whoa, and all that.
So now, did you record that song first, or did you play it for an audience first?
No, it was never played for an audience first. It was recorded. So we had to go to his house the next day, and then it was like, how are we going to write the lyric? Don't stop believing about what? And then when I heard Neil's guitar part, it gave me the idea of a train. And I said, what if, that midnight train's at Georgia? I said, midnight train going anywhere. And where are they going, Steve? And Steve's like, well, I don't know, where are they going? I said, they're going to Hollywood. And it's Sunset Boulevard, 1972, because I lived in Laurel Canyon right above the whole thing that was going on there, the music explosion.
Right.
So he bought into it. He loved it. He goes, oh, yeah, Sunset Boulevard. I go, yeah, up and down the boulevard. I said, at Friday night, people would cruise, and it'd be like hustlers and dreamers and, wannabes, anybody looking for something, on a Friday night on Sunset. It really was. It was Tower Records and
oh yeah,
the Rainbow Room, La Dome, the Whiskey, the Starwood, you name it. It was all there. And then the Roxy, of course, came along, where I saw what was it? Rocky Horror Show.
Oh wow!
And with Tim Curry,
Yep.
And
the original Rocky
Dr.
Horror
Frankenfurter. Yes, yeah. Those were the days, and everybody had glitter, and so Perry was like, "Man, let's do this," and the singer in a smoky room, smell of wine and cheap perfume was a whiskey a go-go. Everybody knew that place smelled when you walked in, and then it was, and then it was funny because when we actually recorded it, it was one of the trickiest songs for us because of the fact that the drums didn't come in till that B section, so
right.
It was like this handoff that I had to do with Smith, and we had to get it just right, and it took all afternoon.
Wow.
It wasn't coming together, and they turned the click track on for a minute, and those are horrible click tracks back in those. It was like tunk,
Yeah.
And I said, turn the bloody thing off, let's just do this. And Steve was sick; he had a cold. I said, go home, man. Get some rest. We got this. So around 5:00 on a Friday night, we nailed that song. Yeah,
wow.
It was finally done.
So now, did the song take off before you ever played it live first? How did that work?
No, it did not really. The first single off that album was "Who's Crying Now."
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think "Don't Stop Believin" was second. That was the second single. And I don't believe it made it very high. It might have made it to number 9 or something, and then it's faded away. It didn't even make top 5.
Really? So what do you think?
Because of Michael
changed it?
Jackson. Michael Jackson was, owning the airwaves at that point. And, we're in the same chart with him, which is he's R&B and we're rock, so I don't know. Go figure. That was the way FM radio worked,
Absolutely.
So we still had a number 1 album, though. Escape went number 1. That year.
Escape went 9 times platinum,
we were selling
too.
200,000 albums a week.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. It was like those days are gone,
Well, not really, because, just seeing you again just recently, that magic is still there.
Yeah, no, but just the sales thing, people don't want
sure.
music anymore. Yeah, that's what I mean. Those days are, where you can actually... And we would tour, and the record sales will go even higher, And now it won't matter if you have an album out or not, or if you tour or not. It won't matter, Even if you played all the songs, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't correlate anymore, If you don't have record companies leaning in like they did, it took an army, man, to make Journey, and the DJs and the PDs and distributors. It was like. When I was thinking about my speech for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all I could do was say, man, thank you all, for this. Because people ask me, why is Journey still a brand? I'm like, because we had an army, for 10 years just pulling the thing up the hill, and waving the flag,
And no matter where you looked, Journey was there. Really?
Yeah, Journey was there. And we were friendly. We had the user-friendly group, we were on MTV and, BJs, and our manager was, getting program directors to come out and hear the album. And, one thing interesting about Journey, we never had an A&R guy tell us what to do.
Really?
We did it. No, we did it ourselves. We did the whole thing ourselves.
Wow.
We had our producer. We knew what our singles were going to be, and that's it, But we did know that Don't Stop Believin' would be the first track. We figured that song is a perfect way to get, into the new sound of Journey.
Oh, sure.
And,
but
was when you put the needle down, there it is,
Oh, yeah. But did you know the success that was going to come your way, and were you prepared for that? I mean, you guys were in video games. You were on commercials.
Yeah. No, I don't think anybody can be prepared for it. I knew it was either going to be, wildly received, or they were going to hate it, because, I really had changed a lot of what Journey sounded like. And, Perry wanted to change the sound and wanted to move on, and didn't want to stay in that same, thing as Infinity was, And so I saw what could have been, would change the sound, and I sort of modernized things. Got rid of the organ, more synths and piano, and a little bit more tough, lyrics were a little bit more to the fans, I mean, we sang to the fans.
Oh, you sure did.
That whole Escape album is about our fans.
But then you come to Frontiers and Faithfully. Now tell us how that came about and how that came out of you.
Yeah, Frontiers, that once again, it's the last song. They need, this song. We need a ballad. And I was called by the producer the last day of recording and said, I know you're sitting on a ballad, John. You need to bring it in. I said, well, wait a minute. There's some contention here about the song. And so I explained to him that when I wrote it, I wrote it very quickly. I made a demo at Keith Olsen's studio, and, it was on a little Wurlitzer piano, me singing it. And I had a cassette tape of it, and I gave it to Steve Perry. He heard it, and he wanted it for his solo album, Street Talk.
Oh, wow.
And I go, no, you can't have it.
Right.
You're going to sing it on Journey. Oh. And he, kind of gave me this harump, and fine. Yeah. And so I put it back in my pocket. Thanks very much. So, and it's probably the quickest song that ever came. It was like a Holy Spirit moment where God was just writing the words down. I don't know.
Really?
He just, through me. I was just a vessel, a messenger from what he was trying to, because I just, I started with these 4 lines, Highway Running to the Midnight Sun. I'm on a bus, I got a napkin, I bring it into a Sheridan. I smell like diesel, I wake up, I see the napkin, I'm like, wait a minute, that's good. What's next, Restless heart, sleep alone tonight, wondering where I am without you.
Wow.
They say that the road ain't no place to raise a family. It just went like automatic, line after line, until the napkin was full on both sides. Oh, and then I went to sound check, and I had a little Casio keyboard on my bed. It was like this little cheapy $30 thing, and I plunk it around, plunk, 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 plunk. I'm like, that's cool. And then so they had a big piano at the pavilion where the orchestra would play. It was in Saratoga Springs, the SPAC, they call it, Performing Arts Center. And so there was this beautiful 9-foot Mason Hamlin. So I went back there, everybody was eating dinner, and I tried my idea on the big piano, and it was like, oh boy, it just came, soaring. And I went, this is a good song. And, I didn't even record it. I kind of remembered enough of it to where I could, so when Keith asked me if I had any music, I said, yeah, I guess, I got this cool song, Faithfully, so I record it, on this reel-to-reel. He keeps the master, and then he calls me like a month later, and he goes, I'm producing Heart, John, and I played your song for Ann and Nancy, and they wept. They cried. Oh, wow. They had tears in their eyes.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, wow, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, once again, it's patience. I have patience, and I'm sitting there with this cassette, and sure enough, we don't even rehearse this song. It's not even mentioned. Nobody even mentions this tune. The producer, Mike Stone, says, bring the ballad in tomorrow. So I come in with the same cassette that I took out of Perry's hand and put it in the machine. It was like, okay. And he looks at me like, and he knew, what song it was because, he had heard it. And then he said, okay, I'll sing it on one condition. And I said, what's that? He goes, you can't be around when I'm singing it.
Come on.
Because it's your song, and I want to have my time with it.
Interesting.
You need to give me my time with it. I said, you got it, sir.
Wow.
You got it. You can sing it till your heart's content. I trust you. So sure enough, he calls me. I think it was Thursday, and it's morning, and they had mixed the thing already. It was mixed. It was the master.
Wow.
And I was so impressed. I sat there, and then I started bawling. I just sat at the console, couldn't believe it, how good it was.
Oh,
it was. I remember giving him the biggest hug. I go, dude, that is stunning, and it's one of the epic Steve Perry vocals of all time. I mean, really, God bless Journey, and Neil was funny because when we cut that song, he was going to lay out, and he goes, I don't know what to play, man. I just feel like I'm getting in the way. And I said, just be a French horn. Just go up there and be a French horn. Just joking, And so I'm forever yours faithfully. And he goes, ba, 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 ba. I'm like, oh, wow. Come on. This is all just on the fly, And then at the end, there's Steve Perry raving this, I'm forever yours faithfully. And we recorded that song in 3 takes.
Did you?
That was it.
The whole, really?
That whole faithfully, yeah. A song that the band had never performed was recorded in 3 takes. So how fresh is that,
It's craziness. Now, when you sing, but when
live,
you sing,
it was all live too.
Now, Jonathan, when you sing faithfully today, how does does it still give you the chills?
It's like an old friend. It's just been a really good friend. It's like, when we get it right, there's nothing like it. It's a rock orchestra, Journey, truly is, orchestral, and the way Ross plays his bass and, the way all those parts fit, is very much symphonic, so that's one of the big moments of the show for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that you have so many meant to be's in your life. We'll get more into that. But, then things started to change for you guys, though. Steve and Ross, they left in 1987. Yeah. You and Neil formed the supergroup Bad English, which literally brought you full circle back with Ricky Phillips and John Waite from the Babies.
Yeah.
And then Dean Castronovo, he's the drummer. Now, you guys put out some great, great music. And let's talk about the hair, Jonathan. It was
well, it was the age of the hair band where everybody had to have hair, So
you had
I had a perm, and John was well coiffed and Ricky was well coiffed, and it was like the look,
Oh yeah,
it was a '90s hair band.
Oh,
we weren't quite a hair band, but
you really weren't.
I think we were more of a rock band than we were a hair band. But.
Absolutely, no, I agree with you there. But how was working with Bad English compared to Journey? How was that different for you guys?
Well, we had a lot of meddling going on in Bad English. There was a lot of record company meddling. So they had an A&R guy that was relentless, and he kept looking for songs. And, instead of letting us, just develop our own writing, they kept shoving songs at us. So it was very intruding, I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't dig it at all. But, we had to deal with it. That's what Epic Records were doing at the time, and we, I didn't have the manager like Journey Herbie to keep them away, So we ended up getting this song. Diane Warren wrote the song "When I Smile." I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Neil didn't want to do it.
You really didn't want to do that song.
No, he did not. No, because it didn't fit the record. It just was a total, And if you heard the original demo, you would laugh. And I said, well, we got to do it like bad English, so you got to let me arrange it. So I got permission from Diane to rearrange the song and make it more like what we would do,
Right.
So, there it was, and number one song. It was a number one hit.
Everything you've touched, though.
John was right, but it was a kiss of death for a rock band to have a number one hit at those days, Because that makes it turned you into a pop band. You're not a rock band anymore.
Yeah, true.
So that was, it was a blessing and a curse, at the same time, because, you listen to the rest of the album, it's got nothing to do with that song.
Right. Right. But then things really changed because Journey got back together and then Steve Perry left. So tell us about that day. And that's been in the news a lot. But you tell from you and from your point of view, tell us about the day you knew Steve was going to leave.
Well, he left twice. He left us in '87 for almost 10 years,
Yep.
And we did the band English thing, and then he calls up and wants to do a tour, and so Neil talked him into an album, Trial by Fire, which we made pretty quickly and painlessly. It was, I have to say, we got nominated for a Grammy with When You Love a Woman, and then his health went south.
Yep.
And he physically it scared him, and I just think that it was too much, and he burned out. So, he wouldn't perform, wouldn't record, didn't want to do anything,
Right.
So we waited around for about 2.5 years, and then Neil came knocking on my door like, "Hey, dude, I want my band back."
Okay.
I'm like, "I know." I said, "Well, Journey was Journey before Steve was in the band, so I'll help you."
That's
So
right.
off we went. And we had to call Steve and say, "Look, man, we're going to get a new singer, and we're going to be Journey." And like, "Oh, you can't do that." We're like, "Yeah, well, 2/3 of the music is ours, so we think we can. So we'll make a deal." So we did. We made a deal with him, and he was classy enough to step aside and let us get going. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Not easy.
But then you got Steve Augeri, though. He's brought on as your new lead singer. He's amazing. And
8 years he gives us, and we do an album for Columbia, Sony, and yet we're still very, very happening, on the music scene world. We're headlining with Foreigner and Peter Frampton, and we're headlining with Styx and REO Speedway, and all those tours were pretty big tours,
Absolutely.
Even though our record didn't have the kind of success I would hope, Arrival really was a pretty darn good record, but it just
right. And do you think fans were just kind of taking it out on you guys for that because they were mad about Steve Perry leaving?
Pretty much. It was a lot of there were haters, I got some nasty mess. I had to change my number.
Come on.
They leave some really horrible messages on my machine,
That's just
I
crazy.
changed my number.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, we've had people. I was worried for Steve's life. I mean, when we first went out, one had some lunatic come and, pull something stupid. But
and you guys did great together.
It was dangerous. We did it. We got through it.
You didn't, and you were great together. But then Steve had to leave because he had a bad throat infection. So here you are again. Yeah, well, the great thing is he sounds awesome today, so we're happy about that.
Yeah, no, he's still singing. It's good.
Yeah.
We just had to get. I mean, we were Def Leppard, ironically, right? We were Def Leppard, and 12 years ago, and
in 2006,
Jeff Scott Soto came in, and kind of we limped through that tour with him.
Now you found him on YouTube as well.
He wasn't going to be our guy,
You did know that? You knew that from the get-go?
Yeah, he didn't sound like us. It sounded like somebody else, but it wasn't Journey.
But then you got Arnell.
Neil finds Arnell, it was unbelievable. He finds Arnell, and kind of the rest is history. I mean, he, I was the kind of the doubting Thomas. I wasn't sure. No. But he pulled it off. He did. I mean, I was just worried about the culture part,
Really?
He had the voice.
Oh boy, because
he had the voice, but the culture part, like how's it going to deal with Western culture,
Oh,
He's
sure.
never been in the States, He just taught himself English, and, it was hard for him. And then the time change going back home and then coming here, and it was like, it's killer to go back to, if you're not used to flying that far.
Right.
And the time change is ridiculous. It's 16 hours or something.
That's crazy. But you
it's
guys,
nuts. I went over there, and at 4:00 I was ready to go to sleep.
But you guys,
I'm like looking for a bed.
You guys were there to support him, though, right? And
all the way. He, I kind of mentored him, through it. When he had his doubts, and and Neil was very supportive of him, and I got him into doing the voice exercises. He really he came on, man. He's been with us 12 years, and he's done a tremendous job. He crushes it when he needs to. He's great.
My gosh, the energy he has, really. When I got to meet him at Fenway, I said, where does that come from? I mean, he's just all over the place.
Well, it's his trademark, and he's made Journey stage his stage, which is fine with us. We love it.
Oh, yeah, it's great. No, he's been a great addition to Journey, and we're so happy to have him as fans, of course.
Yeah.
But now...
Well, he's the longest-standing lead singer. I mean, for the last 12 years, he's been with us. In other words, he didn't leave and go anywhere.
Right, right.
We just been working solid. Yeah.
Now, Neil recently said that a reunion is just not going to happen with Steve Perry coming out with his album and everything. I mean, don't you think the fans would want to see something, maybe even bringing in Greg Raleigh, Robert Fleischman, Steve Augeri, Dean Castronova, No? It's not going to happen.
Don't see it.
Yeah. Oh, sure. No, I hear you. But now fans are like, well, Steve Perry's back. Is he going to go back? Are they going to do a show, 2 shows, something?
The door's open. If he wanted to sing a song with us anytime, he knows how to get hold of us.
I gotcha.
So we have an open door policy, and Arnell would gladly share the stage with him,
Oh, sure. Oh,
but
my gosh.
it's just not something on his bucket list right now. So.
Right. No, I get it. Well, now
he would have sang at the Hall of Fame if that was right.
Right. Absolutely. But he did make a comment that he didn't want to take it away from Arnell, which I thought was pretty great.
Pretty great. No, he's a classy guy.
Yeah.
And I give him a lot of kudos for the way he was that night, and I'm happy to see him singing again. It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, let's talk about your book, Don't Stop Believin', the man, the band, and the song that inspired generations. I mean, that title alone, Jonathan, is so powerful. Did you come up with the title?
Well, yeah, it was actually a different title, and it was a different book, actually. I wrote a coming-of-age story that ended when I was about 16. Moved to the suburbs, and the book ended, and I wanted... It was very, very different than what I have out there. And people kept saying, well, you're Jonathan Cain of Journey. We need Journey. And I said, I don't want to write a tell-all book of Journey,
Right.
And they convinced me, well, it doesn't have to be a tell-all book. You just have to tell it from your side of it, whatever you went through. So there was another book there. It was like writing a whole other book. So it took another 3 years, I guess, to get. And then I met this editor, Travis Thrasher, who really helped me get my outline together and how we were going to tell it. And we still didn't quite have a great beginning, And the night of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I stood on the stage and I saw this is where the book begins, right here.
Really?
And I, standing next to Steve, I knew how the book was going to end.
Wow.
Because I remember having a conversation with him. It took that, to really get it right. So I'm glad that, it's a memoir and it is, it's an inspirational. I wrote it to inspire and, motivate people, encourage them. Anybody has a dream, you're not always who they say you are.
Mm-hmm.
You can dream it, you can do it, and I'm living proof. I mean, they told me I was washed up, back in the 70s, and I didn't believe them. So
really?
Yep. That's how it goes. And you just have to find your place, it's a niche has to have to figure it out. My daughter's going through it. She's a singer songwriter now.
So she's got a great mentor.
Yeah, she's wondering where she's going to fit in and how all it's going to work. But hopefully she does. She'll figure it out.
Of course. Well, she's got you, which is great,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Well, now you're married to Pastor Paula White.
Mm-hmm.
Cain.
Yep.
She's President Trump's spiritual advisor. Tell us, I know the story, but tell us how you both met. I think it's so cute.
We were heading to San Antonio. I was with Foreigner, and she was flying to one of her homes out there. She sat on a plane next to me, and right across the aisle dropped a book. And I picked it up, and I thought she was a therapist or counselor or something, because it was a book about relationships, and I was writing my book at the time on the plane on my laptop. And I asked her what she did for a living. I picked up the book, and I noticed, and said, "You're some kind of professional," And she goes, I'm a pastor. I'm like, "No, you're not. You're not a pastor." "Yeah, I am, And so then I had all these God questions, faith questions, that unresolved issues I had about, where my heart was with God and Jesus. And so she kind of counseled me there and, gave me the good news that, maybe I should try to get back, get back with the faith. And it was a long road, but I knew when I met her that I hadn't spoken to a woman that really received me as well as she did. She kind of heard my heart, saw me, heard me. And I was like, man, I heard, and we had so many things in common too. That's really crazy that we both had tragedies when we were young, and failed marriage, lost fortunes,
Yeah.
and we laugh about it. Feel like, well, we're still here.
Well, it's great. You both can.
But
laugh
anyway,
about it now.
it was truly. She ended up being the love of my life. And I just didn't think it was possible to love a person like that again. I used to ask her. I was 19. I was in love, deep in love, and is it possible to be that in love? And I found it. I found it with her, and we just clicked. It's great.
So did you know it the second that she dropped that book, and it's like a movie? You bend down and she bends down. You look at each other. Was it one of those deals?
It was kind of. I knew there was something special between the two of us, because I spent 2.5 hours talking to her, and normally I just end the chit chat and then go back to what I was doing.
Right.
But we just could talk. We could communicate. We were intense about getting our personalities right, with each other. And I thought, well, she's really, and then she was pretty too, I'm like, wow.
Yep, she's pretty beautiful.
But it's her soul,
Yeah.
It was the soul. It was a soul thing, that I felt we had an exchange that was special. And I said I told her I'm never going to get married again. 2 divorces is enough, and I married her 3 times.
And it's the best
three
thing.
Weddings,
best
3
thing
different
you ever
services.
did.
And I said I'm never going to Africa, and I went to Africa 6 times now. So
6 times.
6 times to Africa. Yeah, I went to Ghana, and I had my rebaptized ceremony there. I was rebaptized in Ghana by her spiritual father, Archbishop Duncan Williams, who ended up marrying us on Prayer Mountain in Ghana. So, and then we had to go back to the church and get married in the church.
So it was like an event.
And then we got married for our friends at the Ritz. So we did the whole thing. We did 3, the holy trinity of marriage right there.
That's
I
awesome.
do. I really do.
Yeah, I triple do.
I triple do. Yeah, I'm proud of what she's doing in Washington, leading the way for prison reform, the reentry, trying to get the church involved. Let the church do what it does great. The church used to do a lot in the world, and we have this vision that the state and the church can work together.
Nice.
And that's what we're trying to do. That's what she's trying to do. She has, evangelical faith initiative board that 35 pastors have prominent, Baptists, Southern Baptists, evangelicals, Protestant, you name it. We have Catholic guy, everybody all comes together, and tries to put their head together and figure stuff out. And, when it comes to Trump, she just prays for him and does the faith business. People always say, well, why don't you tell him this and tell him that? And she's like, I don't go there.
Right, right. Absolutely.
He's his own man. His kids can't even tell him,
Well, sure. Yep.
But, we had these lovely times together, all of us. And, Eric's son was baptized in East Wing, and Abe Lincoln's looking down on the ceremony.
Wow.
I got to play the White House piano, the Steinway in there.
Oh, my goodness.
10 foot, and guess what I played?
What?
Oh, stop.
You
Believe it. Yeah, I had them all singing. It was great. Right there in the White House.
But that must have been, so you did it on the piano. That was your own version, though. That must have been beautiful.
Yeah, my version. Yeah, I'm singing it my key.
Man,
but they were all digging it.
Of course, who wouldn't dig it?
Yeah, and the piano was like with a 3,000th piano Steinway made in 1938, and it has like the eagle legs, like they're golden eagles.
Man, that was a moment for you, I bet.
I never played anything that sounded so huge.
Wow.
In that room. It just sounded amazing. Yeah, it was really fun.
I do have a question for you about religion, though. Were you afraid to come out and, because so many people, there are so many left and right about religion. Yeah. And you're afraid to talk about it. And I love that you're not afraid.
Yeah, here's what happened. It was like, I ended up going to a lot of ministry services with Paula, and she asked me to come up and share my testimony, with a congregation in Chicago. It was years ago. I had been, I don't know, really kind of not used to doing that,
right.
Sharing my heart. But watching her, I thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot, and it felt really good to connect, God with my life, with how the fire, just fueled new things, and how there's a scripture, ashes for beauty. The Lord will take something beautiful from the ashes, make something beautiful. And so it worked, and people received it. And I was like, well, that's really cool.
Right.
And then I'd sing the song that I wrote. I started writing worship music, and I would come in and I'd give my testimony and sing a song, and they were loving it. I'm like, well, okay. So as I kind of waded my way through it, and I thought, if I can help. And then I noticed that people were loving Paula and my story. They were, they were hopeful that, hey, if they found love with anybody, then we can find love,
Right.
And so we became like this encouraging power couple, kind of, that in church, in service. So it became quite natural for me to, when it came to this book, certainly I don't do any preaching in the book, but I can point to, supernatural moments that God was there, and angels were at work, and, you just can't deny it. And that's all that, you get to a point in your life where it's like, hey, I did all this, and, it's time to give God something back,
And you are.
And lift up his name, lift up, the blessings. I like try to pay my blessings forward. Hey, if this works for me, he could work for you.
Right.
That's where I'm at. I don't go, you don't have Jesus, you're doomed. That's not I don't say that. But I do believe, that we need the grounding of Scripture, and we do, there's so much truth and balance there. In the Word of God. And so, being a Catholic, I think they left half the Bible out. I don't know what they did. But, when you get into the real apostolic teachings every week, Bible teachings, like all of a sudden it just becomes part of your life. It becomes a rich part of your life, and and you're happier somehow. I don't know. I think my life is fuller and richer, now that I'm plugged back online.
Right, and you found
I'm online.
you found a cool lady to share it with too. And
she is a wealth of, she preaches like nobody's business. She's not the feel good preacher, that's for sure. She has a lot of messages and deep things that she deals with, and warfare and spiritual warfare, and they're not always easy to hear, and and soul searching that she'll cause a congregation, just she can stir it up, that's
right.
what she does. She stirs it up. She challenges them to stand up,
Yep.
Jonathan, for their faith and for the church,
Sure.
And don't be meek, you don't need to be meek. If you're, we've got to pray a little louder, especially today. We need to pray a little louder, all of us.
Absolutely. Now, Jonathan, is there anything on the list that you haven't done yet that you need to do?
Oh, my. You know what? Yeah. I want to learn ballroom dancing.
I would have never expected you to say that. Really?
I call Paula my tiny dancer, and
Aww.
we every time we dance together, it's such a blast. But neither one of us know what we're doing, And so you may see me on Dancing with the Stars or something.
All right. See, now if somebody hears this, you're going to be getting a phone call. You know that, right?
Yeah, I've got 2 left feet.
Well, I think it's safe to say we are all blessed to have Journey still on the road performing for us. You picked you picked such a great band to go out with this year. Def Leppard, absolutely amazing. You guys are on tour together. Oh, I'm sorry.
This has been in the works for a while too,
Well,
it was
in
the works for a while, yeah.
Yeah, you're out together.
Planning it,
Well, you were out together in 2006. It must have worked for you then, so it's got to work for you now, right?
Yeah, their manager passed away, sadly.
Oh.
And, one of the things he always had on the agenda was the Journey and Def Leppard. This year, was going to be the year. So how blessed are we, to have that.
Oh, man, we're glad. We're so glad. And to have Cheap Trick there with you, that was the ultimate triple play, I think, that we're going to see this year. And you guys...
They're really great, too, yeah. They've been friends of mine since the babies,
Oh, wow.
I toured with them. It was Journey and the babies, Wow. Journey and Babies and Cheap Trick. And that was like the show, And we had wall-to-wall girls, They would be like, got to see Cheap Trick and the babies.
Speaking of wall-to-wall girls, go back to early Journey. Give us a crazy fan story.
Crazy fan. Trying to think. I don't really have any crazy fan stories. They were, pretty. They ran me out of a theater one night. I was watching a movie in my hometown, and all these girls started whispering, and I left.
Oh, come on.
I did. I left the movie. I'm like, I'm not just sitting here through this. They're like, oh my God. So I was like, oh, I can't even go to the movies now. That was kind of funny.
You can watch it in your own house, right?
Well, nowadays, right?
Yep.
Netflix. What are you going to do? I still like going to the movies, though. But our fans are really cool. We've got great fans. Never did anything, that I could say, wow, that was crazy. I can say that, they got naked and, this one girl just completely was buck naked standing on her boyfriend's shoulders.
Like at the show. At the show.
What is going on? Yeah, and they escorted her out. She had this dress and nothing on it underneath it, and just dropped it, and there she was. Everybody was going crazy. I remember the crew jumped out. They're usually behind stage, and they're all looking. I'm like, guys, don't going well.
Don't look. Yeah, right. As you're putting your hand over your.
She was a little cutie, so she could go and do that if she wanted to. It was in Iowa. It was a jam. It was at wasn't it? No. Yeah, it was Iowa. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, see, it's one of those details you remember, Jonathan.
Yeah, when they go naked. I mean, we used to get mooned. I mean, girls would drop them and give us the moon. I'm like, what's that all about? And then the boobs would come out. No, leave those boobs in there. Don't be doing that.
Well, yeah.
Oh my God! But the moon shots. I mean, that was an '80s thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. I never did.
Everybody was mooning, But you're running. We had a stage where it was a big stage where you could run around in a circle and we go back there, and there'd be somebody's butt. Like, okay, there's somebody's butt. Don't forget the cords.
The times you must have had. Yep, you could probably write another book, Jonathan.
Oh, the amount of panties that came flying on the stage. It was like, it used to be hanging off the guitars,
Oh, come on. Come on.
Seriously, it was, back in the day, they'd have a broom and have to sweep them off the stage. I'm not kidding.
So nobody ever ended up in your backstage naked?
No. No, Steve was, we ran a pretty tight ship. He was, I was married. He was, pretty tight with Sherry, and, Neil had a girlfriend. We were all pretty sane,
Good. That's
good.
Very
it was
unusual.
a family show.
Very unusual for that time, though. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, the wheels came off later.
Well, we're glad they're back on.
After divorce, it's like no more Mr. Nice Guy. It's like, oh God, you don't want that stuff. But you've been there, done that. That's the way I look at it.
Right.
And you got to move on.
Right. Well, you guys are wrapping up in L.A. on October 7th, and everybody can go and visit jonathancainmusic.com to order your book, your albums.
Yeah, Amazon.
Amazon too, right?
Amazon. It's we have a audio book there that I got to read with a lot of music. You can get it on Amazon Audibles, or you can order it the MP3 or the CDs if you want.
Fantastic.
But if people don't want to read the book, listen to the book. By all means, that's I put a lot of time and effort into the songs about my life.
Sure.
That go with the book, and there's some solo piano work that I did during some of the more dramatic passages. So there's that, and then there's a CD that goes with it that's on iTunes called "The Songs You Leave Behind." Oh, okay. And that's you can go there, and that is 19 songs that are part of the audio book.
Oh, wow.
And, so one of my first solo albums has gone out of print. So I decided that it was time to, put some of this music back out there.
Nice.
And the song's about, the fire and my daughter being born and all this stuff that, I wrote, not really knowing I was going to write a book, but it was kind of prophetic that they all work so well.
Absolutely.
In the context of the book. So I wrote a song about writing the book, and that is The Songs You Leave Behind.
Fantastic.
And that's the very last thing I leave with the reader is that lyric, So it was a profound experience. I'm honored to finally be an author, a published author. It's incredible. We're selling the books at the gig too. It's pretty cool.
Are you doing any book signings? Are you traveling around to bookstores or anything
I did that. Yeah, we did that when the book came out. We did like 2 weeks of that. I've got a really cool thing I'm doing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm going to do a book signing in the bookstore.
Oh, wow.
There.
Nice.
And I'm going to do a little concert for everybody, yeah.
When is that happening?
That's going to be October 10th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right after your tour ends, you're going right over
to do that? Right
after
the tour, I'm going right to Cleveland, and I'll bring my clubs and play Firestone and, do a book signing.
Well, the crazy thing is you told your story in your book, but your story's still happening and still evolving. So hopefully your story gets filled with more joy, more music. And we thank you. We thank you so very much for spending some time with us and sharing a piece of you, and all of our thanks and blessings to you, Jonathan.
Well, thank you, Kiki, and all the fans out there. Thank you for staying with us, and through all the ups and downs. And bands are like families, and we have our moments.
Yep.
And then we all come back because it's all about the music.
That's right.
The music is key, and through the years, and what an honor to be in the Hall of Fame, and and get to vote every year.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely
yeah.
amazing.